Hi, I'm Marcus Ruiz Evans. I started the CALEXIT movement. In 2012, I published the book California's Next Century. Now, people had been talking about an independent California for years, even going back to the 1850s, but this was the first time a book came out where somebody seriously looked at California being a nation. I was able to get in the news a couple times, and the movement grew to what the world knows now and calls the CalExit, California Independence Campaign. The main reasons why CalExit makes sense is that California has a different values and culture than America, and that has real differences in the law. So California wants to do things a certain way, and those laws are struck down, or they're backed away, or hindered, or stopped from happening because California is part of the federal system. On top of that, California loses financially being part of America. It can't sell products to the international stage because we're associated with America, and foreign countries simply will not buy products like technology products because of the association with America. California businesses are held up by 5 to 10 years from selling products to foreign countries because the federal government has to review everything, and it takes about 5 to 10 years to do that. Global California was the book that inspired me to write my book that documented that. California also has to pay money into the federal system more than it gets back. And it has the worst of everything. And yet it pays for about 35 states for the last couple decades to have everything better than California with California's money. So you have a different culture, and it's viewed as weird and bizarre, and it's talked down by Americans. And then California pays for Americans to live better than California. That's gone on for decades, and that's just ridiculous. That's clearly insane. Those are the main reasons why. But this video is about addressing something has happened in the last month. California got very big with the idea of California independence with the election by popular selection, if you exclude California votes, of Donald Trump in November of last year. So at that time, the media started paying attention to the idea of California independence. And they threw out every possible argument that there was. So since I wrote the book on California independence and why it's a good idea and reasonable, logical, and should happen, I've collected all of the arguments made by the media since this idea became big. And I'm going to address all of them and then say why they're not good enough reasons to not pursue California secession. These come from various organizations that do the news: Fresno Bee, Sacramento Bee, LA Times, LA Weekly, Reno Gazette, National Review, Huffington Post, Atlantic, East Bay Times, San Francisco Chronicle, San Diego Union Tribune, Forbes, Politico, Snopes, New York Times, Washington Post, News Press Now, Union Democrat, The Week, Foreign Policy, CBS, Vice, Inquirer, KQED, Bloomberg, Breitbart, Heart Air, CNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, KTLA, KTVU, Mercury News, and Fox. And here are the arguments. Number one, the Colorado River is going to be shut off. California won't get any water. Here's why that's not going to happen. The Colorado River is not the main source of water for California. The majority of California's water comes from the mountains, which are in California. Additionally, the largest desalination plant built in the planet is in California. Californians built that in the last 2 years. So Californians know how to make desalination plants. If we had $30 to $50 billion, which is what we would save the moment we're independent each year, we could build 30 to 50 desalination plants. Water crisis over. Or we could take back the forests, which are managed by the feds. They don't manage that correctly. The trees are too dense, and so not enough water is allowed to run off, cutting down our water supply. Finally, the Colorado River is an international compact, which means it's made between American states, California, America, and Mexico. The government of Mexico, which loves California, would have to agree to cut off the water to California. So multiple reasons why that's not going to happen, or there's solutions around that. The other thing is that most of America's fruits and vegetables come from California. If California doesn't get water, then Americans aren't going to eat anything but beef and corn. I think they don't want that. Moving on, America will not help California in a natural or financial disaster. Well, they don't anyways. A lot of people are talking about Governor Brown of California has asked American President Donald Trump for disaster assistance, and it's $300 million here or $500 million there. Keep it. Who cares? I want $30 to $50 billion. You can keep your $1 million here or your couple hundred million. That means nothing. Give us the money and we can take care of ourselves. And it's our money. Also, the fact is that California asked for financial assistance from Barack Obama. It was turned down. California asked for fire assistance from George W. Bush. It was turned down. We asked for financial assistance during another recession in the 90s from Clinton. We were turned down. We asked for earthquake assistance from Ronald Reagan after the earthquakes happened, and we didn't get it. So A, we get a fraction of the amount of money that we turn into the feds, the federal government. And B, they don't come through anyways, historically. Number 3, America will invade. California leaving has to end up in a civil war. That's not going to happen for a couple of reasons. One, Californians aren't fighters. We don't fight wars. We oppose them. Vietnam, Iraq, biggest protests. Secondly, why would America invade a place where it already has a bunch of military bases? That you don't need to invade anything, that the soldiers are already here. Third, we're doing this legally and peacefully, so there's no reason to invade. And fourth, finally, let's say that America does invade California. You know what's going to happen? Californians are going to peacefully protest them. And with Silicon Valley, everybody who has the internet will see that. And anybody who watches movies will see that because we own Hollywood. So if you watch TV or movies or the internet, you're going to see peaceful Californians who democratically chose to become independent. And then the military of America said, we're still the world's greatest democracy, but we're going to force you not to have what you want. California alone can make sure the entire planet sees that. I want to point out attention to a protest in California of the Iraq War. I think 2003, 2005. There was a protest in San Francisco. And all the protesters did was block the streets for one day. The world financial market shuddered because California is such a huge economy and San Francisco is a financial district. So just protesting and shutting down a part of the California economy shocked the global economy so much that prime ministers were calling President of America Bush and telling him, you fix this tonight. We don't fight with guns. We want to make America recognize our peaceful, legal vote for independence and a democracy. Everybody just doesn't show up to work for one day in the world's 5th largest economy. Guaranteed there will be negotiation. Moving on. Okay, damn it. Okay. Sorry, you'll have to forgive me. Okay, number 4. It isn't legal to secede. Well, actually, it is. Multiple news reports have suggested that you'll have to have a constitutional amendment to make this happen, and that's difficult, but that is legal. Additionally, the California Attorney General Kathleen Kennelly, the highest legal authority in California, did admit when she filed or approved the initiative for CALEXIT that the only court case in federal law on secession is Texas versus White. And in there, it says you can secede through consent of the states. I know you're not going to see that widely reported on. Consent of the states can legally secede. Texas versus White, only court decision by the Supreme Court, which is the highest legal authority of the law in America, did happen. Attorney General, highest legal interpreter of the law in California, said that. Additionally, Xavier Becerra was asked by the New York Times about CALEXIT. He did not say it was illegal. He said it was tough. So, Texas versus White happens. We filed the petition. It was approved by the California Attorney General. They mentioned Texas versus White, and then a separate California Attorney General also said that it's not illegal. America will never agree to let California go. So America doesn't invade, but they won't vote for California to leave. There was a poll done a month ago that said 30% of America said, go ahead and leave California. So right there, 30%. Additionally, when you look at the election maps, going back to 2000, George W. Bush versus Gore, they talked about red states and blue states, and they tried to say that's not true. The interior of America is all conservative. That's like 35 to 45 states. In the federal system, the states run everything. So the majority of the people who own Senate votes, who own the congressional votes, who own the Electoral College, don't like California and could easily vote for it to leave. If you look at the way conservatives talk about California and how much hate they have, they're going to vote for us to leave. People say, well, what about when California, it's become known how much money America will lose? Americans do not have debates rationally and then vote. No one thinks that. Elections are decided on emotion. Okay? America hates California. They're going to vote that way. You need proof? There was this thing called the shutdown of the federal government by the Tea Party just a few years ago. That was financial stupidity. They did it to prove a point. That had never happened before. Shut down the government? That shocked the world market. Tea Party did it, thought it was fine. They did it, they threatened to do it again. Americans vote on emotion, not logic, and certainly not with economics in mind. Sorry. Look at the Republican Party of the last 30 years. People vote against their own financial interest. That's the majority of Americans. And the majority of America is conservative. If you look at the states, not population-wise, and the federal system is designed for the states, not population. If the federal system was designed for population, then New York, Texas, and California would decide every federal election. That's not what happens. Federal funds will be cut. Cut them. I don't care. I want $30 to $50 billion. The fact is it's basic money. We put more in than we get out. So if they're going to cut money, they're cutting our money. You're always going to get more money if you're independent. This will hurt democracy when you just leave because you didn't get your vote your way. No, this is going to be good for democracy. People know in California that democracy in America isn't working. They saw George W. Bush win illegally. 30,000 African American votes dismissed. The Supreme Court just selected somebody. Voting machines have been said by the creators of them to be able to be tampered with. They've known about that since 2004 or 5. Nobody fixed that. Now they're saying Russia hacked the election. Yeah, well, you've known since 2005 that your electronic voting machines could be hacked into because the creator said that to Congress. You did nothing about it. And then you look at Donald Trump getting in and they're saying it's rigged or it's this or that. It's too many elections where things were rigged and not fair. And people know the system doesn't work. Corporations are people. They can do whatever they want. Democracy's not working. You're not going to save it by staying in a failed marriage. Time to leave. Additionally, minorities and the youth have been programmed to really only pay attention to federal elections. So when we move those national issues to California, we will have more minorities, which is the majority of Californians, and the youth, which we have historic low vote turnout of the California youth, participating in elections. So democracy is going to get better for California. This is abandoning liberals, and this is abandoning America. This is actually a fair criticism. California is saying that it would be better for itself if it left on the world stage. And this is about protecting Californians. We don't think you can change America within the system. And this is about saving our people. And yes, that is to a degree somewhat of leaving other progressives in other parts of America to fend for themselves. Now I'm saying move to California now. That's the solution. Things are getting bad. They're going to get worse. Time to leave and come here. Been saying that for a year. Hope you're listening. But let's also consider this. The fact is, I know that sounds draconian and militant, but did climate change happen because California worked within the system, or because it totally rejected working with America, worked with the world, got the world to do it, and then the world kept begging America to get on it, and then America finally did climate change? So the world's moving on climate change. That's the biggest issue the world's faced. California did not work with the feds to make it happen. It did its own thing, reached out to the international community. They got on board, they did it, and then they forced America to do it. Gay rights is another one. Armenian genocide is another one. So these things that California has done where it said, we're not going to work with the federal government, we're going to go to the international world because we're connected to it, make it happen, and then they'll force America to do it. Now, what's better, working in the federal system or doing that? Well, the biggest issue humans have faced is climate change, and California made it happen by not working with the federal government, leaving it. So if your biggest problem was fixed that way, maybe your other problems can be fixed that way. This is about hurting America and making it weak. Well, it's not, for this reason. California alone can secede. We're big enough. Texas can't. Texas isn't rich enough, and it doesn't have the connections to the world. California has the international connections, the recognition by nations. Everybody around the planet already thinks that California is its own thing, separate. Governor Brown said California is a separate nation. Schwarzenegger, before him as governor, said something similar. The world already thinks of us as independent. We already have international connections, and we already have the money to make it work, and the infrastructure. You know, bureaucracy normally isn't so great a thing, and Californians love doing it. But the fact that we really like creating new laws means that basically there's a California group or bureaucracy that does everything the federal government does. So we don't really need to create agencies to become independent. There's federal regulations and there's California regulations that do the same thing. When we leave, it's not like we don't have regulations because of our love of bureaucracy. So we're the only one in America that's equipped to do this. Texas isn't. They don't have the money, the connections, or the bureaucracy. New York City is the only other place that's closest. And if you're not one of Texas, New York City, or California, you would effectively be as wealthy as a third world country if you left America. Always said that. So it doesn't work for anybody to leave. We're the only ones that could do it. Said that. That's not the destruction of America. Also, people have said that Oregon and Washington should join California and leave. And we've been contacted by a lot of people. Never joined that. If we really wanted America to be destroyed, we take as many states with us as we could. And we rejected that.